The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the most prominent and complex disputes in the modern world. It centers around a struggle between Israelis and Palestinians over questions of nationhood and sovereignty in the territory between the Mediterranean Sea and Jordan River. This small region is home to major holy sites for Jews, Muslims, and Christians. It has been at the center of nationalist movements for both Jews and Palestinian Arabs over the last century. The roots of the conflict stretch back to the late 1800s, when both Zionist and Arab nationalist movements emerged. These laid the groundwork for the tensions and power struggles that have continued to this day. Numerous attempts have been made to broker peace agreements, but a lasting and just resolution remains elusive. The conflict has resulted in wars, uprisings, terrorism, and ongoing violence that has claimed thousands of lives. In this video, we will examine the origins, key events, and current status of this complex dispute. The goal is to provide an overview and analysis of the factors underlying the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the major obstacles that stand in the way of peace. The roots of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can be traced back to the late 19th century, when nationalist movements emerged amongst both the Jewish and Arab populations in the region. Jewish nationalism in the late 1800s, Zionism arose as a nationalist movement calling for the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. This was largely in response to rising anti-Semitism in Europe. Zionists viewed Palestine as the historic ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. Major waves of Jewish immigration to Palestine began in the late 1800s. Around the same time, Arab nationalism was also emerging in the Middle East. Palestinian Arabs sought to establish their own national identity and resist what they saw as foreign encroachment on their land. Jewish immigration increased significantly in the 1920s and 1930s, intensifying disputes over land purchases and labor. Violent riots broke out periodically. Arabs opposed unlimited Jewish immigration and land transfers to the Jewish community. Jews sought free entry and acquisition of land for settlement. After World War I, Britain took control of Palestine. It supported some level of Jewish immigration and settlement, fueling Palestinian Arab resentment. In 1937, the Peel Commission proposed partitioning Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, but this was rejected by the Arabs. After World War, Jews fleeing Europe, tensions escalated as the British mandate deteriorated. The 1947 UN partition plan called for two states, but was rejected by Palestinian Arabs. This laid the groundwork for the 1948 war, after Israel declared independence, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The rejection of the 1947 UN partition plan was a major turning point, leading to full-scale war in 1948. Israeli independence in May 1948, Israel declared itself an independent state, in line with the UN plan to partition Palestine. 1948, Arab-Israeli war. In response, troops from neighboring Arab states invaded the territory to oppose Israeli statehood. This first Arab-Israeli war erupted over the establishment of Israel and the control of territory. Israel emerged victorious, expanding its territory beyond the original UN-proposed borders. Jordan seized control of the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Egypt took control of Gaza. Around 700,000 Palestinian Arabs were displaced or fled during the war. Palestinians call this the Nakba, or catastrophe. The 1948 war formed the major territorial lines until 1967. It also created the issue of Palestinian refugees that remains unresolved. For Israelis, the 1948 marked the establishment of Jewish national aspirations. For Palestinians, it marked the loss of their homeland. The refugee crisis and territorial control issues planted seeds for future conflict. The 1948 war solidified Israel's existence, but left openings for further dispute over borders, sovereignty, and the refugee question. This set the stage for ongoing struggles in the decades that followed. 1967 Six-Day War was a pivotal event that reshaped relations between Israel and the Palestinians. Tensions were rising leading up to June 1967, with border clashes and Arab rhetoric against Israel. Egypt closed the Straits of Tiran to Israeli shipping and expelled UN peacekeepers from the Sinai. On June 5, Israel launched preemptive airstrikes, starting the Six-Day War. Israel said it acted to counter an imminent attack. Israel defeated Arab forces and captured the West Bank from Jordan, Gaza and Sinai from Egypt, and the Golan Heights from Syria. Israel now controlled the Palestinian territories, beginning a military occupation that continues today. Israel established settlements in the occupied West Bank and Gaza, creating friction with Palestinians. The war reinforced Arab hostility towards Israel and intensified Palestinian nationalism. The 1967 lines remain crucial reference points for any territorial negotiations. Israel's occupation of Palestinian areas remains a major grievance for Palestinians and a source of international criticism. The stunning victory expanded Israel's borders, but also put it in control of Palestinian populations, setting the stage for further conflict. There have been numerous attempts to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through negotiated peace agreements. However, a final settlement has proven difficult to achieve. After the 1967 Six-Day War, the UN passed Resolution 242 calling for Israeli withdrawal from occupied territories in exchange for peace. Initial efforts by the US and others to broker agreements did not result in a comprehensive deal. 1993 Oslo Accords between the Israel and PLO were a major breakthrough. This created a framework for future relations and Palestinian governance in the West Bank and Gaza. However, final status issues like borders, Jerusalem, and refugees were left for later negotiations that ultimately failed. In 2000, U.S. President Clinton convened Israeli and Palestinian leaders at Camp David. While progress was made, major disagreements over core issues remained. Violence soon erupted again. Numerous negotiations have taken place over the years, but mistrust and hardline positions on both sides have obstructed progress. Disagreements persist around settlements, security, borders, Jerusalem, and refugees. Major issues today. At the core of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict lie several complex disputes over key issues that remain unresolved. These make up the major obstacles to peace. Borders. There is no agreed border between Israel and a future Palestinian state. Palestinians claim the 1967 lines, while Israel wants to retain control over some settlements. Israel has established over 200 settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Palestinians view settlements as illegal and an encroachment on their territory. Jerusalem. Both sides claim Jerusalem as their capital. Its status remains disputed. Israelis see all of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Palestinians want East Jerusalem for their capital. Palestinian refugees. Millions of Palestinian refugees continue to demand a right to return to their former lands. Israel rejects a large-scale return as undermining its Jewish character. Security. Israel cites ongoing security threats from Palestinian militant groups. Palestinians want Israel's occupation and restrictions in the West Bank and Gaza to end. Resources. Israel controls most of the water and land resources in the West Bank, causing Palestinian grievances. Resolving these issues to both sides' satisfaction remains extremely challenging. They strike at the heart of both national identities and goals. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to rage, with the latest major flare-up occurring in October 2023. On October 7, Hamas militants launched a surprise attack in southern Israel, killing over 1,300 Israelis. Israel responded with an intense military assault on Gaza, causing thousands of Palestinian deaths and massive destruction. The October fighting marked a new phase of confrontation between Israel and Palestinian factions in Gaza. Violence has also spread to the West Bank, with clashes between Palestinian youth and Israeli security forces. The October events have provoked international condemnation of both sides. However, diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the conflict have so far failed to gain traction. The recent uptick in violence reflects the fact that underlying disputes remain unresolved. Negotiations have been stalled for years, with both sides skeptical of the other's true intentions. Over a decade of recurrent conflict has led to immense human suffering for Israelis and Palestinians. The cycle of violence continues to take an intolerable toll on civilians. The current status of the conflict remains defined by polarization, deadlock, and bloodshed. Fundamental grievances persist while diplomatic efforts founder. This underscores the urgent need for creative solutions that address core needs on both sides. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has raged for over a century, claiming thousands of lives. At its core is a clash between two national movements, each with claims over the same land. This dispute involves complex history, national myths, religious attachments, security fears, and overlapping identities. Simple solutions have proven elusive. Meanwhile, the human toll continues to mount. However difficult as it may seem, coexistence must be the ultimate goal. Neither side can fully achieve their aims through force alone, nor will the conflict end without addressing the pain and needs of both peoples. With open minds and good faith, a just compromise respecting the rights and dignity of all may one day be forged. The alternative is perpetual conflict benefiting no one. Generations to come will judge today's leaders by their willingness to risk political capital for peace. The cost of continued failure is too dear. The time for bold leadership and empathy on all sides is now. This conflict touches basic human needs for security, identity, self-determination. Its resolution will require looking beyond narrow national interests to our shared humanity. Therein lies the path to a future of hope and reconciliation.
That wraps up today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning some fascinating new facts and trivia through the Info Hub. If you found this video interesting, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with others who may also want to expand their knowledge. Your support helps this channel continue to grow and produce more informative content to enlighten curious minds everywhere. Let me know in the comments what topics you want to see covered in future episodes of the Info Hub. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, stay curious.